So I'm going to click on this and I'm going to say upload from my computer. You can upload from Google Drive as well, Microsoft OneDrive as well. But I have it on my local machine, so I'm going to do it. So I'm going to say I have it in data sets. It's in retail. And let's say retail sales data. Okay. So I have uploaded my CSV file with the entire content. Now I'm going to ask questions to ChatGPT. I'm going to say, can you explain, let's say I don't know the data. So can you explain me the data in the attached file? And then I hit enter, or you can click on this arrow button. So it has created this, okay, it has read it and it's not creating the new content, right? So this is generative AI. Okay, this is creating a new content. So it says dataset appears to be a retail sales dataset with the following columns: transaction ID, date, customer ID, gender, age. So it has understood the data for us. Now I can say here, can you calculate total sales for the year 2023? Let's see if it's able to figure out the date and calculate the sales for us or not. You see, total sales for the year 2023 amount to 4,54,000. Okay, let me know if you would like a breakdown of these sales. So if you want it to break it down by category or by customer age, let's say I click on product category. So it's going to break this data in by product category now for me. So there are 3 product category: okay, electronics, clothing, and beauty. And these are the sales. You want to plot sales trend over the year? Okay, so I say yes. Okay, so now you see here, it's not only can calculate the table and perform all those mathematical operations, but it can even plot the graph for you. Now, if you want to identify top customers by spending, okay, you click on it. It will even calculate who are the top customers in terms of spending, how much sales they have spent. So you have customer ID 487. Okay, they have spent over 2,000. Customer 416 also have spent 2,000. If you want it by gender, it will differentiate it based on male and female. You can see the female has done more shopping than male. So you can keep on asking questions and it will create graphs, it can give you answers, everything, okay, you without knowing how to perform coding. So this is the job of prompt engineering. The prompt engineers, you need to know how to frame these text, right? So the text that we give, they're called prompt, and the answer that we get from LLM models are called as response. So what you see here is response. You can download it. You can even ask it to create a Python program. So I can say, can you show the Python code to plot this graph? So this is a Python code. And if you have a Python editor, you can plot graph also, and you don't have to build the code from scratch. I hope it's clear. But yes, if you are building your applications, if you are automating it, then this is not the way to do it, isn't it? So we will now move on to my PyCharm screen. I use PyCharm for doing Python coding. So this is the data set which I'm going to use. Okay, the retail sales data. Now I'm going to call this variable as, I'm going to create a new variable, Open API key import. I have my own module here. You see, my Open API.py. I'm going to say import my Open API, and I have a variable there which has that value. Okay, it's a string variable, and I have my key there. So I'm going to simply import it from my OpenAI dot. So this is my OpenAI key. Let's create a SQLite database. Now SQLite, okay, is a database. It's a relational database. Okay, it's RDBMS. Okay, which comes pre-installed with Python. Okay, now it has few limitations. Okay, limitation is that you can't connect to this database from any other machine. So if I have it on my machine, only I can connect to it, and you can't connect. Right? But SQLite does not allow connection from any client. Okay, it does not have any username password. Okay, so you don't need username password to connect to it, since on your own machine, that way the database is secure. That's the only security that it has. Okay, so we'll be using SQLite database, but again, the code that we are going to use, you can use it for any database. Let's look at the library that we're going to import. Okay, so first I'm going to import SQLite. Okay, this is SQLite 3. We will import pandas. Now import pandas for reading the data. Okay, so we will read the CSV file and import it like a data frame. So you need pandas to read the data. We will need import Open AI. Okay, because we will be connecting it with Open AI, right? So I need to use Open AI. Okay, so I'm going to say import LangChain dot chat models. Okay, so we are going to build a chat, right, which will connect to the CSV file and get the data, for us. Okay, we will also print the query that is created to get the data. We'll use LangChain. So chat models, and I can say here from LangChain, okay, import chat OpenAI. So chat OpenAI will help us to connect to we will get the open capability. Main usage, okay, of LLM is to create proper prompt and then get the data and summarize it in a proper manner to give the result or the response. So the capability of LLM model is in terms of understanding your input prompt and framing the exact output. Okay. What we're doing here in this example is, instead of making ChatGPT connect to internet to get the result, we will make it connect to the SQLite to get the result. That's all. So let's say you have user. So what user gives is prompt. I'll say, okay, ChatGPT, tell me which category has the highest sales. So you need to have this LLM model to understand the prompt, right? What prompt you give. OpenAI that generates, let's say, Python code to get the result. But again, the Python code will be handled by what we call as Python agent. Okay. And this Python agent has to get the data from data store. Okay. In this case, it is SQLite. And then once the result is got, OpenAI again comes into picture. OpenAI frames the output. The framing of output is again the role of OpenAI. And then you get a response. Okay, so this is what we are going to build now. So OpenAI will help us to perform this as well as this. So I'm going to call this as, let's say, retail data frame. Okay, I'm going to call this a retail data frame equal to pandas pd dot read CSV file. File is in the link, isn't it? Done. The next option is to create that object. Okay, the LLM object. So I'm going to say initiate LLM model. Okay, so how do you initiate the LLM model? Using LangChain OpenAI. So LLM equal to, you have chat OpenAI, and here we need to give two things. Okay, first the OpenAI key. So I'm going to say OpenAI, okay, API key. Okay, so the key, we have stored it in this variable, isn't it? Where is the variable? Yeah. So I'll copy and paste it here. And then I need to call the model name. Okay, so I'm going to say model name. Now, model, there are many model, okay, that we have seen there, right? So I'll be using the older model, not the 4. I'll use GPT, let's say 3.5, okay, and turbo. So turbo is more advanced, okay, and I'm going to use 11.06 version of it. If you want to see the data set, let's print the data set to see if the data set has been read perfectly or not. Okay, so while it is fetching the data and printing the data set for us, perfect. So this is the data, right? So you have ID, date, you have the columns here. Now we will connect to SQLite because we need to build the data, right? We need to get the data into the database, SQLite database. So I'm going to create, I'll call this as, let's say, customer database, okay? Customer DB, let's say. So I'm going to say SQLite connection, okay? So this is an object of SQLite 3 dot connect, and then you give the database name. We just need to give database name, okay? We don't have to give, let's say I give customer.db. You don't need username, password, or you don't have to give the machine name because the SQLite database will be on the same machine and there is no username, password. So directly with database name, it can connect. Now you don't have to create a database like most of the other RDBMS. You need to create database using create database command, isn't it? But In SQLite, we don't create because when you try to connect to the SQLite database, if the database is already there, it'll connect. If it is not there, it'll create. Okay, so it creates automatically. So we don't have to worry about creating it. Now let's push the data frame that we have, retail DF, into DB or table, and we'll call this, let's say, retail table. Okay, so to do that, okay, I'm going to say retail df dot to SQL. Okay, so it has to SQL and it will push into the SQL. And I call this as, let's say, retail sales, let's say, table. And I'm going to say connection name. Okay, so this connection name that we created, you give it. So that's how it knows where is the database. Okay, and I'm going to say if exists equal to, if the table exists, then we'll replace it. Perfect. So the basic setup is done. Okay, we have created SQLite database. We have connected. We've got the data from GitHub. We have used ChatGPT API to start building this application. Now we need to perform actual pulling the data, right? So here I'm going to import libraries for that. I'm going to use LangChain again. So I'm going to say from LangChain dot agents, and I'm going to say import. First thing that we need is create SQL agent. So this SQL agent will help us to create agent which will take our LLM query. Then OpenAI will convert our query into SQL format and give it to SQL agent. SQL agent will get the data and give it to the model. So SQL agent will understand only the SQL query, but LLM will convert our text, whatever English text that we give, will convert into the SQL command using SQL agent. Then we also need from langchain dot agents, okay, dot agents toolkit we have. Now this toolkits, we will be using SQL database toolkit. This is required whenever we are dealing with database. Okay, so it will create different versions, different applications to connect to SQL database. We will also need agent type. So langchain dot agents dot agent types. So based on this agent type, we will decide, okay, which one to call for. So from langchain dot SQL database import SQL database. Okay, so okay, this is to indicate that we are connecting to the SQL database. Okay, any RDBMS database, you need to use SQL database. So I think we have everything ready, okay, which we need. Okay, if there's any problem, okay, we will come back and add more libraries, but I don't think we need. So now I'm going to create something called as my DB, okay, and this is where my data will be stored. So now I'm going to call SQL database, and I'm going to say from URI. We're going to form our query into this database. Here, you need to indicate which database it has to connect. Okay, so I want to connect to SQLite, colon, forward slash, and custom. Okay, let me directly copy from here. Okay, so connection to database will be established here. Now, we will create SQL agent, or we say SQL agent executor with required, I call it that, let's say parameters. Okay, let's build this. Okay, agent executor equal to create SQL agent. And here we need parameters. So we need parameters like, we are going to connect to LLM model, right? So it needs LLM object. It needs database name. So DB equal to, database name is my DB, right? That's okay. So DB name, and then agent type. Okay, since we are going to use Open AI, so agent type that we'll have to use here is called Open AI hyphen tools. Do we give like English text? Yes, very likely we are going to give English text. So I'm going to say verbose equal to true. Now we can start accessing the data. There could be some libraries, okay, which may be deprecated, but that's okay. We can still use it. Okay. Exit code 0 means absolutely no problem, okay, or with our code. So the code is working fine. So let's send our first verbose. Okay, we'll call this text as, let's say, user prompt. So user prompt equal to what is the average sales per month. So you go and say agent executor, right? In agent executor, you pass this prompt that we created. So user prompt. Let's run it and see the output. The output is going to be very interesting. Now see here. This is where the agent executor is starting and it's invoking SQL DB list. This is the table that it has. So you have create table. This is the data that it has got from the database. Okay, but we don't have to worry about all these things. This is the answer that we got. This is the numerical value that you got. So I said, okay, the data will come from the SQLite, right? So data is 456. So this is the output from the database. But the output that you will see is designed by your LLM model, right? So average sales per month is $456. This is the answer. Okay, let's copy and the exact same text that I put it, I gave it to the chat GPT earlier. So I've copied and I'm going to paste it here, let's say. You can even see the SQL query that it has built. Okay, so our normal English text, okay, is getting converted into SQL format. SQL is run on SQLite database. Result is got. That result is then converted into the final output, which is displayed onto the screen. So first it was trying to find total sales directly. It did not find. Then it knows that, okay, I have to calculate it. So now it calculated and gave us the result. So this is the output from ChatGPT. Let's do one more, okay, and then we will see how we can create a template. Break down sales by product category, okay? So let me do that. So this is average sales per month, okay? Just about creating the right prompt. If you create the right prompt, you can do that. Now you see, the question was break down sales by product category. So this is the data from the database. Okay, this is not from some internet, right? This is not a general information. This is from the CSV file that we read. So the output that we got is beauty amount, clothing amount, electronics amount. And this is the output of LLM. The total sales broken down. Okay, when you run it, the text might differ. It may not be exactly same text because every time it creates a new text. But this will be same, right? Because this is coming from the database. So this value will not change. So let's move on. I'm going to create prompt templates now. Okay, we'll build a template for creating prompts. We don't have to give entire text the way we have been giving here. Okay, so every time you run, this background information will be pre-given to the model. We'll say here, create prompt templates from LangChain core. It is in LangChain core. Dot prompt import prompt template. We'll build the template. So let's create the template here. Template equal to your prompt template. Okay, this is the class and we'll pass the values here. So first we'll give the input variable. Input variables equal to, it needs two values. Okay, first we will give the inquiry, user inquiry, and then background info. So background info will remain same, which is about the data, and user inquiry will change, right? So that's what the template is. Okay, so now I'm going to say template. Okay, it's a variable. So template is going to be the background info. I'm going to give something like this. I'm going to say replace here the background info. Background info. Okay, I'll copy and paste here. So background info is given once. You don't type the background info again and again. Followed by space, or we can even give it in next line. So let's say I give it in next line. Here I'm going to say question. So this will be added as it is, followed by user query. Okay, so user inquiry is what we will be changing every time. Done. So this is the template. Now we will create the background info. Background info equal to, and you can give your text here, which is very specific to the analysis that you're doing. So I can say here, I am a data analyst and I am tasked to analyze the transactions pattern of the customers stored in retail sales table, which is, say, crucial for my analysis. So let's put it here, and then I'm going to give a query, user inquiry, right? I'll say, okay, what age group is buying most? Okay, so we have age as well, right? So I'm going to ask it. Now to run it, you need user executor, but user executor has to form the template, not directly the user inquiry, but it has to form the template. So I'm going to say here dot run, and then here you say template dot format. Okay, I'm saying create this template format. Template dot format background info equal to background info, and then the user inquiry, right? And then user inquiry is user inquiry. Okay, that should be it. Let's run it and see the output. Now, what I want to do is, okay, one last step. Let's say you want to create your own grouping of the age. So you can give that as an input here, okay, in background info. So, and I'll say here, can you group the age into, okay, bins. Bins is a group, okay. Bins of age ranges, I call it as 21 to 25, 26 to 30, 31 to 35. Okay, let me write so on, right? Why should I put all this information together? Okay, so you see here, okay, this is the value. For 64 age, you have 31 transactions. For 43, you have 31 transactions. For 57, you have 30 transactions. So it is giving us individual, right? Here, okay, so this is the data from database, as I said, and based on the output, it figured out or which age is buying most. So it says that age 43 and 64, they have made 31 purchases. Okay, this is the output of LLM, right? Okay, so I think this is what I had for today.